Okay, narcissistic parenting. I made a video about narcissistic partners, but now I want to make a video on narcissistic parenting because that's kind of something I also went with my mother who mainly raised me. So again, the intention of this video is to kind of bring awareness to how your parent could have fucked you up, or the things that they could have said to you that made you feel like it's not okay to be who you are or to be in your truth. And it's like, once you have awareness that the things that they try to put into your head were false, then you have a much better chance of reversing those things and rewiring yourself away from their bullshit and into your truth. It's like a narcissistic parent may have been created because they had a narcissistic parent as well. So it's like, for example, with my mother, her dad was very abusive towards her, and she was like, well, I never want to be like that. When I have my child, I'm going to be a really good mother. But then she was still, let's say, a fraction of her father, even though she didn't want to. But it's like subconsciously she inhaled some of that. And it's like, when I get stressed and when I talk to certain people, I used to work with kids teaching gymnastics, and it's like, when I got angry at the kids for not behaving, I could feel aspects of my mother within me, and like, holy fuck, I don't want this, yuck. And it's like, it gets lessened from generation to generation, right? But it's like, we can actually stop it potentially at this generation if we had awareness of what's fucking going on, what we are getting transmitted from our fucking ancestors and all their trauma from fucking ages ago with war and crazy shit, right? And actually heal that. And then when we have kids, if we do, we won't transmit their trauma any further. So it's like, we're healing the past we're in the present, healing the past so that the future will be better, right? In this video, I'm gonna go over a lot of like behaviors or kind of untruths that your narcissistic mother may have put into you, so that we can have awareness that it's not true, so that we can begin taking that out of our brains and making ourselves whole and healthy and healed. I also want to say, it's like, if you had a good childhood, your parents are good, it's like, then you don't need to watch this video, just you know, do something else with your life, it's great. And this might mostly apply to mothers, and maybe more specifically Asian mothers, but it's like, if in any way you feel like your parents may have parented you in a way that you didn't like, that you felt like had a really negative effect on you, even if they, you know, try to convince you otherwise, then there could be aspects here in this video that might help you come back to your truth. I'm just going to talk about my mother, so I will use she, but this could apply to a dad potentially as well. So number one, like, she thinks she is right and better than you because she is your parent. It's like, automatically, because you are their child and they're your parent, it's like there's already this hierarchy, and it's a very traditional Chinese thing, Asian thing as well. So I don't know if you're in the West this is going to apply, but it's like, they just automatically think they are better than you, they know more than you, and it's like, whatever they say is the best way to live life, even though their lives could be fucking shit. And it's like, they're just constantly fucking forcing their ideologies into you, and if you don't agree with them or rebel in any sort of way, they will fucking rain hell down on you. They might even tell you, hey, look, I have the best intentions for you, I love you, so you should just do what I tell you to do. And it might get to the point where you're like, oh, my mother keeps saying she loves me and she has the best intentions, therefore it must be right, even if it feels completely wrong. Fuck no, because I had this thought in my head, and I started listening to my mother because it got to a point where it was just easier to listen to her, even if it felt wrong, than to keep fighting and resisting her. But I need to tell you, like, if you're an adult and she kind of twisted your reality and your truth a little bit, then it's like, fuck, you got to realize that it happened, and you got to unwire yourself so you can actually be who you are and act the way that feels truthful and like integrity with you. So ultimately, trust your truth and don't let their words like convince you that you can't, okay? Because the worst thing is, you grow up being an adult, trusting an external source such as your mother, thinking that, oh, my truth wasn't right because my mother always told me what was right, therefore I need to keep asking other people what is right. It's like, no, as an adult, you can decide what is right for you based on what you feel, based on what you think, etc., etc., based on your own fucking system of finding the truth, right? So don't forget that. Don't lose your way. Okay, number two, they might use giving birth to you as a guilt trip for you to do things they want you to do. And also, they might use the line of like, look, I've done so much for you, why aren't you doing what I tell you to do, you ungrateful child? So neither of those makes any sense. It's like, if you think about it, most parents, most parents have a family because it's like, They want to have the experience of having a family, right? They're like, oh, honey, we're so good together. This feels really good. Let's have a kid. Yeah, let's have a child. Let's start a family. Yay. It's like they want to get off in the experience of having a family. It's not like they're trying to prolong the human race or continue some like universal grand mission. It's like, no, they just wanted to have this fucking child because it seemed like it might be fun for them. And it's not like you were in your astral body one day before you were born, whispering to your mother like, hey, can you do me this favor and create birth for me and I'll pay you back when I'm there? And they're like, okay, sick, good deal. I'll give birth to you now. It's like, no, it's like, there's none of that. It's like, maybe you could argue there was some soul contract or something before this existence that you did agree upon and that's why you are here. But it's like, regardless, they decided to have you. They made that choice. And therefore, if you're gonna have a child, you need to take the responsibility of making a fucking child. And it's like, if you regret your decision and realize you made a mistake or you fucked up or didn't turn out the way you expected because you had some delusional fantasy of having a child and a family, it's like you can't blame the child for that. It's not the child's fault. You still chose to have the child. Therefore, you can only blame yourself. So it's like when they are projecting their own dissatisfaction of their life and their choices onto you and making you feel bad, and then you're internalizing that, and it's like, fuck no, stop that shit. I don't like that. Don't do that, please. So it's like, again, what I'm saying is don't internalize any sort of guilt that your parent might have put into you for like putting time and energy into your existence, okay? Because that's what they chose, all right? You don't need to feel bad about that. They might do this thing where it's like they might do things for you that you may not necessarily have even asked them to do, and then because they've done it for you, they covertly want something in return without telling you. So this kind of goes back to them wanting something for giving you birth and, and taking care of you, right? So you shouldn't feel bad about that. So it's like my mother will often do things to me that it's like that I never asked her to, or I've even told her, I don't care, I don't need you to do it. It's like, please save your time and energy and, do what you want. It's like, it's fine, mother, I can do it myself, right? But then it's like, they keep doing these things for you that you don't ask them to. Then they get mad at you when you don't repay them or be grateful for it. If they're not taking into consideration what your feelings and your values, what your dislikes and likes are, and they're just shoving things into your face, just wanting to get some experience out of it, and you don't appreciate it, it's like, that's completely fine. You have every right to like or dislike something, right? And it's like, if they make you feel bad for it, because in their delusional world, you should respond a certain way, it's like, no, you shouldn't. You should just respond the way that feels genuine to you, and if they don't like that, that's on them for projecting their delusions onto you. And like a narcissistic partner, narcissistic mothers may have a tendency to be fake and have different faces and personas depending if there are friends around. So it's like, for example, my mother would always treat me a certain way that was, at the very least, it felt genuine. It was like, okay, this is my mother, this is how she is. But when her friends are around, she puts on this like, I'm more than I am kind of face and persona, and it's like really revolting for me. And it's like, when my mother has friends around, she expects me to play into this fucking charade, this little like Princess Fairyland tea time thing that she's created. And it's like, when I don't, she gets mad at me. It's like, oh, why can't you be X, Y, and Z when my friends are around? It's like, no, I don't want to fucking play into your fake shit when you try to impress your friends and try to convince them your life is better than it really is. It's like, no, that's not my responsibility. So don't feel bad for not buying into your mother's narcissistic personified personas when she's around friends. It's like, you have every right to just be yourself. Okay, the next one is a bit of a classic. So they might compare you to other kids or to like some like idealized state of what a son or a daughter should be. So it's like, oh, look at David and Freddie, your friends, they're doing so well or whatever, they're doing this. It's like, or they see some fucking child prodigy on the news and they're like, look at them, they're doing so well, why can't you be like that? Or it's like, well, you aren't acting the way that a son should be based on my own fucking subjective expectations of what a son should be. Therefore, because you're not as good as this child prodigy or you're not behaving to a delusion that I've created, there is something wrong with you. Fuck no, that is so fucking stupid. There's nothing wrong with you for who you are at whatever stage in your life just because you don't fit into someone else's, even if it's your mother's, delusional fantasy of who you should be. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. And if they could try to convince you that it's wrong for you to be you, then they are fucking throwing shit towards God, okay? So you don't need to, don't listen to that. And it's like, yes, as a child, you might have listened to that and you might have taken that in, but it's like now, as an adult watching this video, you are getting the awareness to be like, fuck, that made no fucking sense. There's no way there's no reason I should have been made to feel that way that I couldn't be myself. So start being yourself. And it's okay. I'm telling you, it's okay. But again, I'm just gonna pull back just a tiny little bit. Like, make sure that you're not being, you know, a useless person of society either. It's like they might tell you, oh, look, all these people, they're doing great things, and it might be overinflated, and you might be like, no, I'm just gonna be a piece of shit. It's like, okay, you probably don't want to be a piece of shit either. You don't have to necessarily play into your mother's delusions, but it's like you want to be somewhere in the middle where it's like you're just doing, you're doing something, but you're doing something you genuinely like, even if it's not what someone else wants you to be. You know, it's like, that's good. Like, you don't want to be just a loser doing nothing and just hating on your life and being a victim, right? So, do I have a tendency to think that only their values and what they think and their opinions and philosophies are right? So, if you have a different philosophy or way of thinking towards life that is different to them, even though it's nothing at all personal to them, they might think there's something wrong with you and make you feel bad as a person, like my mother has done to me. And actually, we had a discussion one time over kind of the philosophy of giving, and she really didn't like what I was thinking, even though what I thought was, I felt very much more balanced. And she got actually so mad, she kicked me out of the house. So, it's fucking dodgy, and it's like, well, if I can't have confidence in what I genuinely feel is true with my mother, and that's like the baseline person that you ideally should have confidence with, then that's like me going out into society will make me feel very unsure and insecure of myself in expressing my truth. So it's like, if that's happened to you, I want to tell you, like, don't doubt what you truly think and feel just because someone else told you otherwise. But again, the spectrum thing, it's like you don't want to be too stubborn either, and you're stuck into your own little bubble. Don't feel bad about having your own truth, but also don't be too close-minded to the point where you're kind of being a little bit delusional yourself. If you do something they don't like you doing, and you get angry for every right that you should get angry for, then they might tell you to stop being angry. And I think that's so fucking unhealthy. It's like, if the mother is doing something that is fundamentally taking away the freedom of another human being, that is like encroaching upon a soul's right to exist, and you get upset or you react in a way that they don't like, it's like you have every right to do that. And it's super important for a person to express those emotions, because it's like, well, if you just hold it all in, you're gonna get sick, you know? Like, emotions trapped in your body over time develop into illness. So it's like, if someone is telling you that you can't fundamentally express emotions because they don't like that, then it's like, fucking, you're gonna explode one way or another. And maybe you grow up repressing your emotions because you feel like it's not safe to express them. And I want to tell you, it is safe to express them. Or like, maybe do it in your own way somehow that doesn't harm other people, right? But it's like, you have every right to express your emotions. If anything, I would encourage you to it, because it's extremely fucking healthy. So don't ever feel like, oh, I want to express negative emotions that people don't want. I can't. It's not okay. It is okay. It's okay to express any emotion. That, like, no emotion is good or bad. All emotions are valid. It's just energy in different fucking wavelengths, right? So it's like, if there's something that needs to get out of you, fucking by all means explode it out, or just express it out, you know, like smoothly and calmly. Otherwise, it might actually do you damage. But also do it in a way that's kind of like, you know, minimizes harm to other people if possible. And because they think they're better than you and you should just do what they say, they won't respect your boundaries, even if you say no. So it's like, if they keep kind of forcing themselves onto you for whatever reason, and you're like, no, stop, I don't like this, stop talking to me, I don't want to talk about it anymore, or whatever reason, it's like, you are beneath me, you should do what I say because I'm your superior, and they just kind of fucking walk all over you. Then it's like, maybe when you grow up, you'll think that it's not okay having boundaries, or you think just boundaries don't have any effect because as a child, your mother just fucking trounced all over them, so you're like, fuck, there's no point having boundaries, I can't say no even because it just doesn't work, right? And I want to tell you, it's like, well, boundaries are extremely fucking important. It does work. Just because it didn't work with a crazy fucking narcissistic domineering mother doesn't mean it won't work in real life. So I don't want you to think that having boundaries is not okay. It is okay, and it's very important, so, you know, don't forget that. They might have a tendency to actually vilify the other parent. So like, maybe you have like a good more wholesome parent, let's say your dad, and your mother is a narcissistic one, right? It's like, if your dad is treating you really well, well, at least this happened with me, my mother would actually be like, well, don't trust your dad. He's a bad person. They did get divorced, to put some context in, but I feel like what my dad did wasn't necessarily that bad to the point where she's like selling me all of this propaganda about my father and how shitty he is. Even when I felt like, no, he's a great guy. I really enjoy being with him. If anything, I enjoy being with him more than you. And I think that prospect could threaten their ego so much that they have to like devalue the other parent so that they still become the dominant kind of parental figure in your life, so that you don't leave them. So it's like they can kind of still get something out of you. So again, I just want to say, like, don't trust their propaganda. Like, if you, again, trust your feelings. If you genuinely feel like the other parent is better and you really like them and you really love them, then it's like, well, then you really do like and love and think they're better. It's like, that's all true. And it's like, if your mother is convincing you otherwise, don't listen to her. And even if you do everything on this fucking list that they want you to do, and you completely conform to their fucking ideal template, and you vilify the other parent and you make them the best and whatever, they still will fucking find something within you to criticize. They still won't be satisfied, because ultimately a narcissistic parent, when they criticize you, it's not about you. They're just projecting their own dissatisfaction and insecurities from their own life onto you, thinking that if you changed, if something external to them changed, their life will be better. But it's like, no, it never fucking works like that. It's like the problem is within them. So don't feel like you are a bad person just because you're not living up to some insane, delusional, narcissistic delusions of your parent. Okay, so to sum up, these are the main takeaways. Number one is, I feel like I've said this like 17 times already, like, don't let them distort your truth. What you feel is what you feel. And it's like, if you grow up with a mother that keeps telling you how you feel and how you want to live your life and how you want to be and what you want to say and etc., is wrong because it doesn't fit into their ideal, and it made you feel like you can only do what they want you to do, then I want to tell you that's not true. Trust your own truth. You have every right, you have the complete freedom to be what you want, say what you want, etc., etc. And number two is, like, once you have perhaps more awareness of potential fuck-ups that your parents might have put onto you, then now it's your responsibility to try your very best to kind of unwire untruths that they've put onto you back into your truth. Decondition the bullshit so that you return to your baseline truthful self. Begin the process of differentiation. You might be like, well, how do I do that? You know, maybe the obvious answer is like, you can go to therapy and that might help, but that's very fucking expensive. And not everyone has access to that potentially. So again, like, I talk about this all the time. Again, it's journaling. I think journaling really helps. Like, essentially journaling just kind of, the more you journal, the more your subconscious and your unconscious gets pulled out. All the fucked up things in you, it will just slowly get put out into a piece of paper. You'll be like, holy fuck, oh wow, holy fuck, wow, holy fuck. And it's like, you just write without really thinking, and all of these things comes up eventually. And of course, just general development of self-awareness, whether it's through like Myers-Briggs or like astrology or enneagrams or what have you. It's like, the more you can understand yourself through these systems, the more likely you will have in actually finding what your truth is. And it can help a lot to have an external thing tell you or inspire you to be a version that you really want to be. Because it's like, maybe as a child you had your mother telling you falsities, and you're like, I have to be this way because something external that knew more about life was telling me. But now it's like, you can actually find knowledge and information on the other side that's actually telling you to be truthful. And it's like, well, no, I'm not going to listen to this anymore. I'm going to listen to this. And then eventually you'll listen to this yourself. And that's kind of the final goal and the most important thing, ideally, that I think one should work towards. If you watch my video on analyzing your life like a dream, you might be asking, well, how did I kind of manifest this mother or this experience into my life? It's like, as a child, surely I couldn't have manifested this out of my subconscious or whatever, right? Because I'm so underdeveloped. Well, yes, and I wonder that myself, and maybe it goes back to kind of a past life thing, because remember, our existence, it transcends time and space. It's not just linear in this physical plane, second by second. It's like everything that has happened has already happened and is happening all the time, everywhere, right? So it's like maybe, let's say, a past life, there was some karma or there's some soul lesson because of the narcissistic attacks from your parent that made you feel so much falsities in so many ways. It's like every time you heal away from these falsities, then the aspect of the truth on the other side of that gets much more strengthened. So there is a possibility that you wanted to learn these lessons and these truths in this lifetime. That's why you chose a mother prior to, let's say, your birth that would give you these like negative experiences that will push you down into the fucking darkness so that you can rise back up like a fucking phoenix so that you get stronger as a human being. You know, it's like the more you push a spring down and you compress it, the more it fucking flies back up to the fucking heavens like a vector to the fucking heavens, right? So potentially you could have chosen that and that's why it's manifesting in your reality. But it's like regardless of what happened or what the reason, it is here for you right now in your reality. And it's like, are you going to choose to take responsibility for it and deal with it and heal yourself and get better and get more powerful and become more you? Or will you keep playing the victim and be like, my life sucks because my mother was a fucking bitch? The sun is really nice right now. Can I quickly show you? I don't know if you can see in the camera. But it's got this like, oh yeah, there we go. And to finish off, I want to read you something from a poet called Khalil Gibran that I'm sure most of you know. And he had a very beautiful passage on children. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backwards, nor tarries with yesterday. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. So the archer is like God in this case, the bow is the parent, and you are the arrow that must fly and perhaps one day become a vector to the heavens. So until next time, my dear friends, my dear traumatized children out there, if you are watching this video, I hope this video finds you well and that it brings you some sort of solace and comfort and awareness in this path that you have chosen to live. And that if you chose to take responsibility for all the shit that has brought to you, perhaps by your parents or where have you, then you have a chance, you have the potential to transform all of that shit into fucking diamonds. Like you will transcend gold into diamondhood and to godhood, if that is your wish. So until next time, my dear friends, Godspeed and
Don't lose your way.
忘れんな。お前を信じろ。俺が信じるお前でもない。お前が信じる俺でもない。お前が信じるお前を信じろ。